Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is our Avengers 4 theories video. Now, I had a whole bunch of you guys talking to me about, we really want to have a video where we just talk about our theories. Now, obviously, if you are somebody who has not yet seen Avengers Infinity War, I'm sure this discussion about Avengers 4 theories is going to be chocked full of spoilers for Avengers 3. So if you haven't seen Avengers 3 yet, i.e. Avengers Infinity War, you may want to just, put a pin in this video and come back and watch it later, because I'm sure it is bound to be filled with spoilers. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. It's just all, what do you guys think about what's going to happen? Now, we've heard a lot of big theories out there. The most predominant theory right now, and we're just going to spend the next hour just talking about your theories. The most predominant theory out there is that it's going to involve time travel. Now, most of these time travel theories come as a result, let me just pull this up here, come as a result to some of these set pictures that we've seen floating around, right? That looks like it's the Battle of New York. Captain America's got a shiny shield. It looks like his costume from the first movie. So that has spawned everybody to say, oh, it's time travel, it's time travel, it's time travel. Of course, though, whenever we start basing these theories on out-of-context leaked set photos, 99.9% of the time we end up being wrong, but that is one of the big predominant theories going into it as well. But we're not here to talk about my theories. We're here to talk about your theories and what you guys think are going to happen in this movie. So, without any further delay, let's dive right into it. So, the first thing coming in today is Adam Douglas, who writes, Aaron Taylor Johnson spotted on the set for Avengers 4. What do you think that means? Bringing back to life, time travel to the past, combination of both. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Aaron Taylor Johnson is the actor who plays Kick-Ass in the Kick-Ass films, and he also played Quicksilver in Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, if you haven't heard this report that Aaron Taylor Johnson was spotted on the set of Avengers 4, it's probably because the report is probably bullshit. It's probably a bogus report. When I first heard about it, I did some digging, and I always tell you guys, keep going down to the source. Forget where you hear it from. Where you heard it from, where did they hear it from? Like, that's what I'm saying. Get down to the source. And this comes down to let's just call it a site, an outlet that is very loose with the facts. And they didn't even say that it was from them. They said they heard somebody say that they saw Aaron Taylor Johnson on set. So a outlet that's kind of loose with facts said that they heard somebody say that Aaron Taylor Johnson was seen on set. No reliable outlet is corroborating this, at all. So I would strongly mark this one under probably pure BS. Now, I will say this. Just because this report is most likely BS, that doesn't mean that Aaron Taylor Johnson isn't in the movie. I mean, look, consider this. If, and we're probably going to be using the word if a lot today, because it's an Avengers 4 theory video. But if time travel is involved, then hey, that opens several doors that you could have Quicksilver there if you so chose. But as far as this particular report goes, I wouldn't pay any attention to it. I wouldn't pay any attention to it at all. Somebody unreliable says that they heard somebody say is not something we should even waste time discussing, to be honest with you, Adam. So I think the report's complete BS. That doesn't mean that Aaron Taylor Johnson isn't going to show up, but I don't believe that report at all. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Patrick Conway writes, an epic OG6 moment that shames the New York battle. I mean, look, that's not so much a prediction as it is a wish list item, and I'm right there with you on that. To have a scene with Cap, Iron Man, Hulk, Widow, Cap, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Widow, and Hawkeye in another big, huge action set piece would be amazing. Look, again, not part of the although I'll call this a theory, but it's also a wish list item. I just want to hear Captain America say Avengers Assemble. Just have Captain America say Avengers Assemble, I'm happy, and we'll be all good, okay? All right, next one comes to us from Josh Crichton, who writes, Good day, Mr. Wallishaw. I'm in John Campea. Inconceivable. Do you think we will Vision as the West Coast version in Avengers 4? I have no idea what it is you're saying. Do you think we will Vision as the West Coast version in Avengers 4? If you're asking, are we going to get a West Coast Avengers in Avengers 4? I don't think so. I doubt that. It's not the wildest theory, though. It's not a totally inconceivable notion. I don't think that's what they're going to do, but I mean, we've seen them do stranger things. So I'd say no, but don't mark it off as completely impossible because, like I said, we've seen them do stranger things. Patrick Conway writes, Avengers 4, Gamora is a haunting presence for Thanos. Volume 3 will have flashbacks to show each Guardian's grief. That could be Gamora's big role. If you're talking about Guardians Volume 3, that comes after Avengers 4, so I'm not sure about it. So what are you saying? That Gamora's presence in Avengers 4 is mainly going to be like haunting Thanos' imagination and dreams? I mean, okay, that's possible. Yeah. It could still sit with him, although, again, to me, it doesn't mean they can't do it. I'm just saying, to me, the end shot of Avengers Infinity War with Thanos sitting there looking over the sunset, he looked very content. Like he seemed very satisfied, very self-satisfied, as a matter of fact. He seemed pretty content and happy at the end there. So that doesn't mean he won't still have visions or nightmares or whatever later. And maybe the Gamora thing is a part of that in flashbacks, in nightmares, and maybe he's being haunted. Who knows what else? But that stuff's definitely possible. All right, we go back over to Josh again, and Josh writes, how do you think Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, and Hawkeye will factor into Avengers 4? Will we see Red Hulk too? I don't think we're going to see Red or Gray Hulk. Like, there's been some people speculating lately about that. Maybe we'll get a Mr. Fix-It, who is a gray incarnation of Hulk, when he would wear the pinstripe suit, and he was like a Las Vegas enforcer kind of guy. Spoke completely intelligently the whole bit, but I don't think we're going to get Red Hulk. I don't think we're going to get Gray Hulk. I think we're just going to get Hulk like we've never seen him before. I think we're going to get a very powerful Hulk in Avengers 4. As far as Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, I mean, you're basically asking me to lay out my entire theory script, and that would take an hour. I really don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. Look, if anything, look, with Ant-Man, and I'll just stick to Ant-Man here. With Ant-Man, we know Ant-Man's original movie delves into the quantum realm. I believe, sort of believe, that if, again, huge if time travel is a part of Avengers 4, well, it ain't from the Time Stone, because Thanos has that. So if time travel is a part of Avengers 4, I think we'll have to do with Dr. Hank Pym and Ant-Man and them utilizing and manipulating the quantum realm to use that for time travel. So I believe, if anything, Ant-Man's role will probably have to do with that. As far as Captain Marvel goes, who knows? We haven't even seen the Captain Marvel movie yet. Ask me that question after we see Captain Marvel. Hawkeye, again, who knows? Let's see Captain Marvel. Let's wait till we get through Ant-Man and Captain Marvel and see where we're at. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Patrick writes, Rocket will have great arc and Wanda destroy stones. I don't know about that. I don't know if Wanda destroys... Well, first of all, Wanda can't destroy the stones because Wanda's dead. Now, if they bring her back, I have a feeling destroying the stones might be what undoes the snapping of the fingers. I don't know that. I'm just saying, I'm guessing. My guess is going to be, and this is inconsistent with the comics, but they do most things inconsistently with the comics anyway. I have a feeling the destruction of the stones is going to be what sets everything back into place. So I don't think Wanda can show back up until after the stones are destroyed. I could be completely wrong about that. I mean, I might even disagree with myself 5 minutes from now. So I'm not sure about that. Rocket having a great arc, maybe. I mean, I don't think it's an accident that Rocket was the only member of the Guardians of the Galaxy still surviving, unless they had a real plan for Rocket. And I don't know that Rocket will have the significant arc in Avengers 4, but I believe we'll see him play a significant role. I do. Again, I don't think he was the one still existing for no reason at all. I think he's there for a reason. I think Kevin Feige and the Russos have a plan for Rocket. All right, Josh writes, How do you think Red Skull will factor and play a role in Avengers 4 and beyond? Will we see Nebula with the Infinity Gauntlet and capable to change everything just like the comics? Drax kills Thanos. Okay, well, I'm going to take one question, okay? Please, I don't like to take 8 questions in one thing, so I'll take one question, and we'll go with like the Red Skull factor and play a role in Avengers 4. See, here's the thing. The reason I don't know that he'll have any role in it is because his role in Avengers 3, which what an awesome surprise, having him pop up. That was my one big jaw-dropping moment. Like when I literally turned to Anne, when Red Skull popped up on screen, my jaw was literally hung right down to my lap. Like I couldn't believe it. It was awesome. I loved it. But there was nothing in Avengers 3 that suggested or does suggest that he's going to play any kind of a role in Avengers 4. Nothing that says he won't either. I'm going to guess right now that he's not, but it's totally open. He totally could. My guess right now is that he doesn't. As far as the Nebula thing, I don't think so. As far as the Drax, no, absolutely not. They've so misused Drax. Drax has become the one character. I mentioned this on my show earlier. Drax the Destroyer has become the one character in the MCU that I think they have mishandled, like terribly. They've turned Drax the Destroyer, who's like genetically put together to destroy Thanos. They've made Drax the Destroyer into a butt of just a butt of the jokes. They've turned him from naive because he speaks literally into a dummy and to just a walking sight gag. I mean, out of all the characters in the MCU, they've handled them all great except one. I do not like how they have managed Drax the Destroyer. I didn't like how they used him in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I certainly did not like how they used him in Infinity War. So I really doubt they're going to turn him from the clown into the ultimate guy who kills Thanos. I wish he would, but I don't see them doing that because they seem to have a very bad attitude towards Drax, to be honest with you. Spencer Smothers writes, did you see James Gunn translate Groot's last words to Rocket? He was calling out to him saying, Dad, broke my heart. Oh my gosh, no, I didn't know that. I didn't see them say that. Oh my gosh, that would be horrible. And I mean, I think everybody in that theater, on top of everything else that was going on and with Peter's death and all that kind of stuff, if they translated I'm Groot saying, I am Groot, and put a translation saying, Dad, to Rocket, I think everybody would have needed to leave that theater and gone directly to therapy. I think it just would have been too much. Too much emotion, too much. I think everybody would have had to gone to therapy after that. That is heartbreaking. Spencer Smothers writes, thoughts on the theory that Tony is trying to go back in time to collect the Infinity Stones before Thanos gets to them to use his own gauntlet. I don't buy... Look, there's elements of that I buy into. There's elements of Tony wants to go back in time because it looks like Tony is now running or is a big part of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because he doesn't look like a younger version of himself. He looks like an aged version of himself in these pictures. Like, again, let me bring up this one image. If we look at this picture, that doesn't look like a younger version of Tony. That looks like what Tony would look like in Avengers 4. And it looks, he's got like some kind of S.H.I.E.L.D. outfit on. So maybe he's running S.H.I.E.L.D. after, Nick Fury goes. I mean, I don't know that for sure. So the concept that Tony wants to go back in time for something, I can buy into. To collect all the stones, I don't think they have the ability to do that. I think he knows that. Not to mention, he doesn't even know about the place where they had to go in space to get, to the dwarves who made the mold of the gauntlet, which got destroyed, by the way. And even then, only remember, Ebony Maw, what he said to Thanos is, even with the gauntlet, no being is powerful enough to wield 2 stones. Like, most beings in the galaxy can't even hold one. Even Star-Lord, who was half celestial at the time, couldn't hold on to one of the stones, couldn't manage one of the stones for long. And like Ebony Maw said when he gave the second, it's like, there's no other being in the galaxy who can wield 2 of them. Like, a few in the galaxy can wield 1. No other being can wield 2. So it's all those things that would seem to be to make it inconsistent. Certainly a mere human mortal would not be able to do it. Like a mere human mortal would not be able to straight up put on a gauntlet and manage the stones. I don't think a mere human mortal could do it. Like if Star-Lord as half Celestial couldn't do it with one, I don't see a mere mortal human being able to do it, even with a whole ton of them. Okay, let's move back on now here to Josh Crichton. Hold on, I'm just going to check something here. Okay, so let's see. Where do we go? Okay. Do you think we will see anyone reference to, do you think we'll see any more reference to the Eternal in Avengers 4 or beyond, like Infinity War, when Red Skull said Thanos, son of Mentor? What about the Annihilators and Silver Surfer future in the MCU? Well, Silver Surfer will have nothing to do with Avengers 4. We know that. That's a fact. So that won't be in there at all. As far as the Annihilators and things like that go, I don't know which ones of those things, if any of those things, fall under the purview of the Fox deal or not. Here's what I'll say too. This isn't a prediction so much as me expressing a preference. What I don't want to see happen in Avengers 4, and I'll tie this back into your question here, Josh. What I don't want to see in Avengers 4 is Captain Marvel comes in and saves the day. And here's why. Not because I have anything against Captain Marvel or any other character that you could bring in here. It's just that the MCU, through 17, 18 films and 10 years, has kind of been focused around this one group of characters. I want to see this core group of characters resolve things. Yes, bring in Ant-Man to play a role. Yes, bring in Captain Marvel to play a role. Yes, bring in Doctor Strange to play a role. But to me, it would seem inappropriate and disappointing to have this core group of characters that have been the foundation and base of the MCU and now come to the climax of what the MCU has been and just have somebody come out of nowhere and they're the ones who save the day. Like somebody we've never met before, never seen before, like a lot of the audience had never even heard before, just have them come out of nowhere and they're the ones who save the day. To me, it seems anticlimactic, it seems disappointing, and it seems inappropriate. That's why I have no problem with Captain Marvel coming into Avengers 4 and playing a significant role. I have no problem with Ant-Man coming in and playing a significant role. I have no problem with any of that. But I don't want it to be like some people thinking Ant-Man's going to, shrink Thanos down to the submolecular level to the point where he's in the quantum realm where time and space have no meaning, and that's how they stop him. I don't think Ant-Man should be the one to ultimately stop him. Captain Marvel's certainly powerful, but I don't want Captain Marvel to be the one who just comes in at the last second, somebody we've never seen in the MCU movie before, other than 2 months before Avengers 4 comes out, and be the one to save everything. I want to see that core group be the one to do it. Cap, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, fine, even throw in Hawkeye and Widow if you want. You guys know I've never been too huge on Hawkeye and Widow, but whatever, that's fine. I feel like it needs to be that core group that comes in and saves the day and does the big thing. And so whether we're talking about bringing in Silver Surfer, which can't happen anyway, so no, that's not going to happen, or Annihilators, depending on what's going on with that, it would just seem really anticlimactic and disappointing to me to do it that way. You know what I mean? We've been following these people's stories for 10 years. Now let's sweep them aside, bring in somebody at the last second, and they're the ones who save the day. Yay! Like that just seems, it doesn't feel right, and that might be exactly what they do, and maybe it'll work great, but I'm just saying, looking ahead, it just feels really disappointing and anticlimactic if that's what they did. Adam Douglas writes, will you lose your shit if Tony makes Thor an Iron Eye? An Iron Eye. I mean, essentially Thor already has, you're talking like maybe with like a built-in AI, like a Jarvis to talk to Thor? I do that. Yes, I would probably give up. I would probably give up on Avengers if that happened. Zombatron writes, Avengers 4 ends with a wedding and Tony retiring as Iron Man. I feel like that would be a good send-off rather than just killing him off. Well, look, I am completely on board that both Iron Man and Captain America are retired at the end of Avengers 4 rather than killing them off. Look, Iron Man is like one of the key nucleus elements of what has been the entire MCU. Captain America is the heart of the MCU. I don't think you just kill them off and remove them. I think what you do is you do like what you just suggested. At the end of it, Iron Man retires. Tony Stark retires as Iron Man and goes off into the sunset. Now, what that does is that it means you never have to use him again if you don't want to, but what it does do is it means you always know he's out there somewhere, and if for whatever reason, Kevin Feige or another Marvel director comes along, has this great idea, and Tony or Robert Downey Jr. goes, yeah, I want to get back into the suit again, then you have that option available to you. Yeah, you say, Captain America says, I've fought my fight. I fought the good fight. And it's now time for me to hand the shield over to somebody else. And Captain America goes off. Now you never have to go back to him again. But if somebody comes up with a great story idea for bringing Steve Rogers back in, and Chris Evans is like, yeah, I want to do more, then great, then you have that option. I just like the idea of ending things off, still giving filmmakers options. Rather than killing off Iron Man that they kind of built the entire MCU around, rather than killing off Captain America, who is the very heart and soul, I feel, of the MCU, send them off into the sunset and move on without them, but just leave those options there in case you ever want to explore them again later and not have to do a fake death again, you know? Because look, if you kill off Tony and 5 years from now you want to bring him back, then you got to pull the old Marvel, well, let's just fake kill everybody again. Everybody who dies comes back to life. Like that way you don't have to do that pathetic, stupid thing again. Just say he's retired and bring him back if you need him. Or you don't, you know, just leave yourself the option. Okay, next one. Zombitron writes, this may be more for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but maybe the point of that movie is them trying to find a way to revive Gamora and having to accept that she's dead. I mean, it's possible, sure. That is possible. I've just said before, look, I saw somebody write on Twitter, Campea insists that Gamora's never coming back. No, I never said that. I think they will bring her back. What I insist is that it's a bad idea. Because it completely undoes any meaningful emotional impact that scene between Thanos and Gamora and Thanos choosing to sacrifice Gamora, it wipes that all away. And what it also does is it once again will take away any more emotional scenes in the future of characters dying. I'm never going to care. I'll watch Avengers movies and I'm going to love Avengers and MCU movies, but if characters die, I'm just never going to care. Oh, because, they're not dead. John, what are you talking about? Surtur just came back from the dead and took, I don't know, whatever character we're talking, took Black Widow, plucked out her eyeballs and carved her into 1,000 pieces and then burnt her. She's dead. No, she's not. She's not dead. Don't worry about it. This is the MCU. Nobody dies, so there's no emotional investment in any death. Don't worry about it. So I am certainly not saying Gamora doesn't come back. I'm just saying it's a really poor choice for them to bring her back. Even though I love Zoe Saldana in the role and I love the character, but you chose to use that character for something narratively. And it was beautiful and it was powerful and it made an impact. And you're just going to yank out your MCU dick and piss all over it if you bring her back to life. And moving forward, I'm never going to give 2 squirts of piss about any character death. If we just know, you're just going to bring everybody back every time. So no consequences, no stakes. That's basically what we're saying. The MCU has 0 stakes. And that's what I've always feared of the MCU becoming, a place where there are no consequences, because anything that's bad happens just gets undone. And I'm not talking about Thor's eye or Thor's hammer. Those weren't undone. That's them adapting to their new reality. He gets an artificial eye. He makes a new weapon, but he didn't get Mjolnir back. He didn't grow his eye back. Those consequences stuck, but he adapted and he moved forward. That's fine. But if you're going to kill characters for story reasons, don't just bring them back later, because it takes away any consequences moving forward. I will never give a shit, ever, moving forward again in an MCU movie if a character dies, because I know it's all a lie. None of it's real. Obviously, it's a movie. It's not real. But what I'm saying is, even within the terms of the narrative, none of it's real. There's no reason to get emotionally invested. Nobody ever dies in this thing. It's all useless. And that's really unfortunate if that's what they do. Zombitron follows up again with, I don't think it's a coincidence some characters survive. Thanos let a few that he made deals for live. Nebula, Gamora, Thor, Loki, Tony, Strange. I don't think so. I disagree. Any deal that Thanos made with Loki over Thor was null and void when Loki tried to kill him. At that point, any deal was null and void. Nebula, Gamora never said, I'll let Nebula live. He just was going to stop torturing her. So I don't think that had anything to do with it, too. I think it was, from the movie's point of view, I do think it was all coincidence, because Thanos said one of his guiding principle is totally fair. There's no prejudice in who does or doesn't die. It's fair. Snap, half the universe dies. Who lives and who dies is nobody's judgment. Nobody gets to pick and choose. It's a random roll of the dice. That was important to Thanos. To Thanos, that was an important principle. His entire self-justification of this is the right thing to do is that it's fair. I'm not playing God, Thanos in his own head believes. I'm not playing God. I'm just seeing what has to be done and we'll make it totally fair. No rich, no poor. Nobody gets to pick who lives and dies. Just totally random. Boom. And I believe there's that. Now, as far as the filmmakers go, there's no coincidence. The filmmakers, Kevin Feige and Marvel, wanted certain characters alive for their narrative later, but within the terms of the movie itself, I do believe in that universe it was coincidence, because it was a pillar of Thanos' reasoning that he doesn't pick and choose who lives and dies. You know, the only deal he made with Doctor Strange wasn't that I won't kill him after the snap. He said, I'm not going to kill this guy right now, because he was about to finish Tony off, and Doctor Strange goes, let him live, and I'll give you the stone. Fine. And he lets him live. But that deal only extends to the ultimate, then measuring scales of the universe when he snaps his fingers. I don't believe it extended beyond that. I really don't. Okay. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Juna writes, will they use dead characters in marketing for Avengers 4 and how? It's impossible to say. Look, Avengers 4 is still 3 movies away. How they're going to do the marketing, I have no idea. And really, I'm here to hear your theories about what they're going to do in Avengers. But as far as how do you market Avengers 4, no idea. It would seem, from a distance, it would seem counterproductive and very spoilery to use dead characters in the marketing, because that gives a whole hell of a lot away. I think you use the characters who were remaining: Captain America, Widow, Ant-Man, Iron Man, Thor, Rocket, War Machine, Shuri. I think you use new characters like Captain Marvel. I think Wong. I think Wong's still alive. He might have died in the dusting, but I think you would have showed Wong dying if Wong was going to die in the dusting. So I think Wong is still there. You use them in the marketing. But again, it's impossible to say. Maybe something happens in Captain Marvel that changes that situation. I don't know for sure. Maybe something happens in Ant-Man that changes that situation. I don't know. Like, for all we know, Ant-Man goes back to the first Avengers movie at the end of Ant-Man. Maybe that's not Avengers 4. Maybe that's the end of Ant-Man. I'm not saying that is what's happening. I'm just saying that's possible. So a lot of things are in flux right now. So how they're going to market Avengers 4, right now I have no idea, other than I think you just go with who's still alive. But again, Ant-Man and Captain Marvel could change that entirely. We're just going to have to wait and see. All right, Robin writes, time travel mission will fail / not go as expected. Well, Robin, every movie, the plan does not go as expected. Otherwise, there's no point in having a movie, right? Like, the hero set out to do this, something goes wrong, and that's the beginning of your story. So, never in these movies do they ever set out the plan at the beginning and have everything go according to plan. So I completely agree with you. I mean, we don't know if time travel will be a part of it, but if it is, whatever their plan is, I completely agree with you that something goes wrong and they have to improvise as they go. So I totally believe that. Nate Piacentino writes, I think Hemsworth is done, but I don't want Thor to die. I think he will leave to go rebuild Asgard and take his place as king, maybe return one day. I mean, it's possible, but the one thing that we do know is that Hemsworth has recently said he would come back to play Thor more. He has re-fallen in love with the Thor character after Thor Ragnarok. He loved doing Thor Ragnarok. So we know he would love to do more. His contract's over, but everybody's contract runs out at some point, then they sign new ones. He could totally sign a new one. So it is possible they could do the same thing with Thor that I was suggesting they do with Tony Stark and with Captain America. If you don't want to use them anymore right now, just say, hey, he's gone to Iceland or Norway, where Odin gave him a vision of this is where this can be Asgard. This can be the new Asgard. And finish his mission, get the rest of the surviving members of Asgard, and rebuild an Asgardian society in Norway where he reigns as king. And now that kind of becomes like a Wakanda, kind of isolated, but, you know, kind of they're autonomous, all that kind of stuff. That could totally happen. They could do it that way. Let's see. Caleb Bradford writes, let's see here. Thoughts on the theory that Captain Marvel is going to take Adam Warlock's place from the comics and defeat Thanos? Well, again, I don't like the idea of either Adam Warlock or Captain Marvel being the ones to defeat Thanos. And again, they might do it in the movie, and maybe they'll do it in such a way that makes me go, yeah, that worked. But for now, sitting back a year away from the movie, I don't like the notion of it at all because it seems inappropriate to me and anticlimactic and disappointing and sad that we've invested 10 years in this one core group of characters, and then at the very last second we bring in a new character and they're the ones who save the day. That seems lame to me, to be honest. That seems kind of lame. I want it to be one of the people I've been invested in and following in for 10 years. Either one of those people or the group of them. I want that to be. Sure, let Adam Warlock come in and be a part of it. Yes, let Captain Marvel come in and be a part of it. Absolutely. Yes, let some of the other newer characters, like a Shuri or a Rocket Raccoon or an Ant-Man, let them come in and be a part of it too. Yes. But again, we've spent 10 years with a certain core group of characters at the heart of the MCU, and now we just say all that was pointless because ultimately, at the very last second, we're going to bring in characters we never had before, and they're going to be the ones that save everything? I'll be disappointed. It's not going to make me dislike a movie if the movie's awesome, no, but I'm just saying that would be disappointing to me. I don't like the idea. Daryl Bess Wadley writes, it's a good thing Bucky got dusted. It would have been hard for Tony and Steve to make up with him there. As far as we know, Tony still wants blood. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think if Tony still wanted blood, he could have just actively spent the last year or two out hunting Captain America and Bucky. But it doesn't seem, the movie doesn't seem to suggest that at all. I think when the fight ended, the fight ended. And there's an honor to it as well because Cap could have killed Tony. Like, Cap won the fight and he could have killed him and that would end it. And he didn't. All he did was disable his power thing and he let him live. And so there's an honor thing in that. It's like, well, you let me, I can't keep coming after you if you beat me and you let me live. But again, it just kind of seems to me that if Tony was still out for blood with Bucky, he would have been out for blood. He would have been spending the year hunting him down and been obsessed with it, but he didn't. He let it go. And especially after the events on Titan, watching Star-Lord lose his composure when it made no sense to lose your composure, but that's what we as human beings do. We are emotional creatures. Our emotional things get the better of us and better of our logical thinking. And he saw it firsthand. And in Tony's mind, that might have been what led to the destruction of the universe. And maybe that made him realize moving forward, I can't be like that. I've got to think straight. Bucky didn't choose to kill my parents. He was captured and brainwashed and forced to do it against his will. That wasn't him. I got to think logically about this and not be ruled by my emotions on it. So I don't think he's still out for blood. It would have made an interesting dynamic of Cap and Tony trying to reconcile with Bucky still there. You're right. That would have made things interesting. But I don't think it necessarily would have submarined it. Not necessarily. But who knows? Maybe you've got a point. Daryl follows up with, do you think Avengers 4 will end with Thor killing Thanos with Stormbreaker? This time aiming for the head. Maybe Thanos foreshadowed his own death. I don't think so, but I wouldn't bet against it. Like, if you had to ask me, do I think that's what will happen? I'll say no. But then if you said, John, do you want to put $5 on that? I'd go, no, thank you. No, because I don't feel that secure that that's not what happens. So I would say, thank you very much for the offer, but no, I'm not going to do that because it's very well possible that's exactly how this thing could end. And you're right. That could be a foreshadow. That would be a really cool dramatic moment if Thor goes, like Thor's got Thanos down and he, just before he kills, he goes, thanks for the advice. And Thanos goes, what are you talking about? I'm going for the head. And then it ends. That would be pretty cool. That would make a great cinematic moment. Again, I don't think that's what's going to happen, but I'm not willing to bet against it. Gabriel Mengesha writes, saw all 5 of your spoiler discussions without boredom over 7 hours total. Thank you so much, Gabriel. I appreciate that. And we still got at least a part 6 to go. Kudos to Russo's for crafting a movie as such. And thank you for answering them. Well, thanks so much, man. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's like, we just did part 5 and the funny thing is, it's not new video. I mean, the video is new, but it's not new questions. It's me still trying to go. When we did that Avengers spoiler review, remember we did a 2-parter, but so many questions came in, like literally hundreds of them, that we did part 3 just to catch up on the questions that already got sent in. Then we had to do part 4 to keep getting caught up. Then we had to do part 5 just to keep getting caught up. And we still got to do at least a part 6. There might even be a part 7. So I still got to get through all those. So thanks for sharing that, Gabriel. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Alex Hanya writes, Steve Rogers dies sacrificing himself. Tony Stark retires with Pepper. Peter Parker and Stephen Strange become the leaders of the new Avengers. I don't see a 17-year-old kid being the leader of the Avengers. I could see a Doctor Strange. I could see a War Machine. Believe it, I mean, because Rhodey is like military trained. He is a leader. Rhodey is a leader. So I could see him. I could see Black Widow if she survives. She's a good candidate for leader. Captain Marvel becomes a candidate for a leader. If that happens, but I can't see any event. I can't see Rhodey, a 20-year military veteran, captain of the Air Force, going, yeah, I'm going to follow the lead of a 17-year-old kid who knows shit about anything. I just can't see Rhodey or any other Avenger for that matter taking orders from a 17-year-old kid who's got incredible powers of the gods and is a good kid and will make a great member of the Avengers, but is not a leader. So, you know, I can't see the Spider-Man thing. The Doctor Strange thing, he's a candidate, although he'll probably be more concerned with being Sorcerer Supreme, but that's fine. Thor becomes an option as well, but he might be more concerned with rebuilding Asgard at that time too. But no, I don't see Spider-Man. I can't see anybody taking orders from a 17-year-old kid. No, I just don't see it. Alex follows up with 6 Infinity Stones, 6 original Avengers. Each will wield a stone and be the gauntlet, so to speak. Harnessing their powers, I don't know, sounded cool in my head. It does sound cool. The only problem with that theory, because I agree with you, Alex, that sounds wickedly cool. It sounds great. Seeing all 6 of the original Avengers standing there holding up an Infinity Stone, that would be an awesome, awesome visual. The problem is, other than Thor, who is the god of thunder, other than Thor, none of them can hold an Infinity Stone. They'll die. It'll burn them up and blow them up immediately, right? Like, again, we go back to the first Guardians movie. Quill, Star-Lord, is half celestial, and even he could only hold it for a few seconds before it was going to kill him. Then the other Guardians had to come and join hands to try to share some of the load of it. But even then, they wouldn't have been able to hold on to it for too much longer. So Tony Stark is a mere mortal man. Hawkeye is a mere mortal man. Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, is a mere mortal woman. They can't do it. So while I love the visual you just set up, Alex, they'd have to contradict themselves a lot to make that actually happen. Although, again, it's a great visual. Gabriel Mengesha writes, I do think Gamora will accept her death, giving Quill closure, not just for her, but for all the people he has lost, such as his mom and Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, giving us a great emotional arc for the saga. I like that. I mean, narratively, Gabriel, what you just said sounds beautiful. And I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Now, they might come up with something that's even better. They might come up with something that does bring Gamora back and it's even better and all that kind of stuff. Sure. But for right now, I really like what you're laying out. I like the painting, the picture you're painting right here. Because you're right. I think that it's a beautiful arc. It sets a story of loss, acceptance, and growth for Star-Lord moving forward. I like the picture you're painting. I do. I think that's a really cool idea. Again, don't know if they're going to do that, but it'd be pretty cool. All right. Anthony R. writes, MCU seems to be in real time. Do you think Avengers 4 is 1 year later in 2019 and the Avengers are back to doing their regular thing with Rocket on the team? It depends on how much you believe some of the stories we've been hearing coming out. Some people are suggesting that Avengers 4 jumps forward like 3 years or something like that, right? Which is also possible. I'll tell you what I prefer. I prefer the idea that you're painting out here, Anthony. I prefer that it's real time, that it's 1 year later. Tony is now running S.H.I.E.L.D. And the events of Ant-Man, we see how the whole quantum realm time travel thing is going to come into play and they use it and all that kind of, again, and we don't even know if time travel is going to be a part of it. Like, seriously, let me bring up this picture again. For all we know, this isn't back in New York during the first Battle of New York. For all we know, this picture that we see right here, but that looks like Cap's uniform for the first movie. Maybe that's just the uniform he's wearing again. Maybe that's just the uniform he's wearing again. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying we just don't know. So there may not even be time travel in this entire thing, for all we know. But what you're laying out here, the fact of it being 1 year in the future, with Rocket being there on the team, I like that. I think that would be cool, but whether that's actually what they're doing, I'm not sure. Anthony follows up with, people think Tony is stuck on Titan, but Nebula's there. She can just take him back to Earth on her ship. Really want to see the awkward reunion. Yeah, no, that's totally what I believe. Like, a lot of people were asking about that on the Avengers Infinity War spoiler reviews. Like, wait a minute, Tony's stranded on Titan. He ain't stranded. Nebula's still alive. And she just fought side by side, even though she's never met Iron Man. They just finished fighting side by side, and they both just suffered a tremendous defeat together. So I wouldn't doubt it at all if Nebula said, I'll give you a lift. I'll take you back to Earth. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's what happened. And actually, that's got to be what happens, because if Nebula doesn't, then he's got no way to get back home. Anthony again writes, Phase 4 is rumored to be very different. With that said, I hope Spider-Man takes a more central role since he is Marvel's official/unofficial mascot. Well, I mean, remember though, this is important to keep in mind. As of right now, Homecoming 2 is the final film that Spider-Man can be in the MCU, as of right now. The current deal between Sony and Marvel is over after Homecoming 2, which is the first film that comes after Avengers 4. At that point, Sony can just take Spider-Man back and use him in their own. Like, here's the thing. If Venom, we've been talking about this, if Venom, and that's a giant if Venom is a big hit, and again, that's a giant, massive if, but if Venom's a big hit, it may embolden Sony to go, you know what? Let's bring Spider-Man back home. Let's bring Spider-Man back into our Sonyverse and use him here. They can do that. Now, I think they will extend the deal. I think Sony and Marvel will extend their deal for another 4 or 5 films. I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's good for Marvel. I think it's good for Sony. I think they've both benefited greatly from this, so I think they will. But just remember, as of right now, the deal expires after Homecoming 2. So we'll have to just keep that in mind when thinking about what Spider-Man's role in Phase 4 is going to be moving forward. Anthony R. writes, I really want more Thor movies, but once everything is resolved, will he stay with the team or just refocus on rebuilding his people's legacy? It ultimately doesn't matter. Like, look, because remember, he leaves the team at the end of Age of Ultron, right? He leaves. But he's still part of the MCU, and thus we still got Thor Ragnarok, right? So he can still be a central figure in the MCU and not be on the Avengers or not be there on Earth with the Avengers. So it's not an either or, it can be a both and. Doesn't necessarily have to be an either or situation, it can be a both and. So let's keep our eyes on that. Patrick writes, so no Doctor Strange, Loki, Scarlet Witch team up movie. Well, not at the moment at any rate, although that would be, I would see that movie. A mystical kind of movie, even though Scarlet Witch's powers aren't mystical per se, they're mutant powers technically. But a Doctor Strange, Loki, and Scarlet Witch like mystical team-up movie, sign me up. I'm there. I am totally there. Notwithstanding the fact that all three of them are dead right now, especially Loki. But had they ever done that, or had they ever proposed to do that and then didn't kill them in Avengers Infinity War, I totally would have completely been on board for that movie. Put me down for that. Hardy Buck 4 writes, Tom Vaughan Lawler is a huge actor here in Ireland and plays Ebony Maw in Infinity War. Did you like his performance? Oh, I loved it. I loved Ebony Maw in this movie. I really did. I mean, I don't want to talk much about it because we're supposed to be speculating about Avengers 4 and what's moving forward, but I loved his performance. Ebony Maw became one of the top 5 best MCU villains ever, and he was just a henchman to the main bad guy, yet he was brilliant. I've run out of words to describe how much I loved the Ebony Maw character. I thought he was great. Let's see. Anthony follows up. I had no problem with the CGI, but why weren't some of the Black Order members real with prosthetics? Also, with the remaining members, will the remaining members be in Avengers 4? I don't think there are any remaining members. I think they're all dead. Ebony Maw was the first to die. Corvus Glaive, how'd they kill him? Oh yeah, it was Vision that ultimately killed him in that final confrontation between those two. And then the one was rocketed up with Iron Man's fist until he was scraped to death and then exploded against the Wakandan shield. And then what's her name got thrown into the path of the giant alien lawnmower that killed. So they're all dead. So they can't be there. I think going CGI looked much better. I really do. I think it looked much better than it would have with prosthetics and stuff. I think it made it look more consistent, especially with Thanos. Since Thanos was going to be all CGI, making his children all CGI with him kept it more consistent. Now, you guys may disagree. That's totally cool. You may be right and I may be wrong. But my initial impression is that I think it just looked better the way they did it. Personally, that's what I think. Okay, next. Where'd KW Garrett go? Oh, a second, guys. Sorry about that. Backing up. Still backing up. La la la. Okay, here we go. Okay. KW Garrett writes, since Thanos lost most of his goons, fried his glove, and reached his goal, will he be an actual villain in Avengers 4? Who will be the new cannon fodder? Well, he didn't fry the glove. Well, I mean, he fried it, but it's not destroyed. Like, some people think that the glove was destroyed. It wasn't destroyed. If it was destroyed, he couldn't have opened up a portal for himself at the end of it to get away from Thor. So, I mean, it was in bad shape. After that huge exertion of power, the gauntlet was definitely in bad shape, but it was still functioning. But that is a big question that I have about Avengers 4, is really, what will Thanos' role be? Thanos isn't coming back to Earth to fight everybody again. I mean, his job, the way he sees it, his job is done, right? The way Thanos looks at it is like, I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. Now, the only thing that I could see that would make him get back into the fight is if he realizes, somehow finds out that the Avengers are on the brink of undoing what he did. That could lure him back into the fight. So there's that possibility, but no, really, that is my biggest mystery question to me is how does Thanos factor in to Avengers 4? How does he factor into it? Is he in any of the movie and then just shows up at the end for one big final confrontation? Is he an ongoing presence throughout the movie? I mean, I really don't know. It really all depends on what path they decide they want to take that narrative. But that, again, KW, that's the big question to me moving into it. Anthony writes, do you think the Avengers will operate normally if half the government, including Thunderbolt Ross, has disappeared? There will be no restrictions now. Well, look, just because half the government's gone, remember, the Sokovia Accords are not a U.S. law. It is a global law. It is something like almost every nation on Earth signed into law, right? Will the Avengers continue to operate? And if so, do they operate under the restrictions of the Sokovia Accord? Well, I don't know, because even Rhodey, it looks like Iron Man, at the end of Civil War, it seems like Iron Man realized, yep, this Sokovia Accord thing was a bad idea. And clearly Rhodey, he pisses off Ross and says, you know what, I'm done with you. So he's rejected the Sokovia Accord thing too. So it already looks like, even before Avengers 3 ends, it looks like there's no Avengers left who still want to abide by the Sokovia Accords. So maybe they're just operating as they were before. It's going to be interesting to see once we get to Avengers 4 to see, okay, this is what's happened in the last year, and here's where we start. It's going to be interesting to see how they dictate that. All right. Bombus467 writes, Russo's confirmed Betty Ross and more died with the snap. Yeah, I saw that interview. I don't care. I mean, really all that is, oh, anybody that we weren't planning on using in Avengers 4, oh, just say they died. I mean, that's ultimately what it came down to. And anybody we might use in Avengers 4, say we can't say. So it was really nothing. Like, they couldn't get Jamie Alexander. They did confirm that we didn't see Jamie Alexander's Lady Sif because she had schedule restrictions because of Blind Spot, which is a TV show. So they asked them, so they couldn't use her. So then they asked them, okay, is she dead? And they go, yes, she's dead. Because why not say she's dead? Because she can't be in the movie anyway. They had no plans on using Betty Ross. So just, oh yeah, Betty Ross is dead. So yes, they did say that, but ultimately it doesn't mean anything because they were never planning on using Betty Ross. They were never planning on using Lady Sif because Jamie Alexander's not available at the moment to be in it. So yeah, that's just a simple way for them to go, oh, anybody that we weren't planning on using or can't use? Yeah, sure. Yeah, they died in the snap. Sure, whatever. That's kind of what it was. I don't really take that interview too seriously, to be honest with you. Edgar Navarro writes, hey, John, my theory is that they'll introduce a new Infinity Stone. No, I don't think so. The MCU will bring in Moana along with the heart of Te Fiti to bring back those who ashed away and defeat Thanos. Yes, and of course, you've got to have The Rock come back as well. What was the name of The Rock's character? Sorry, guys. I got to stop everything that I'm doing and look up. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the character that The Rock voiced. It's the name of one of the islands. Is Maui. That's right. Plays Maui. Maui, the demigod Maui, comes back to fight Thanos with the heart of Te Fiti, and that's the seventh Infinity Stone. Okay, Edgar, you've won me over. I'm completely on your side now. I want to see that happen. Anybody out there who's an artist, do me a favor, do up a rendition of Maui with an Infinity Gauntlet with a seventh stone on it and send that to me. I want to see it. That's a great idea, Edgar. I'm totally on board. And Dominic Toretto helps them too. Okay, so Carnell B writes, hi, Gamora is dead. Gunn's comments on Gamora having a big part in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. One could argue Quill's mom is a big part of Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Dead. No fake deaths, please. Well, no, that's definitely one of the possibilities here, Carnell. I mean, absolutely, is that, yes, Gamora can be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's alive. It could be flashbacks. It could be dream sequences. It could be a haunting. I mean, if you want to do that in the MCU, you can. There's a lot of different options. Now, I sadly believe they are bringing her back, but it's not a 100% certainty. You can use her in Guardian in many different ways. And I just listed 4 or 5 of the different ways you can still use her without her being brought back to life, right? So it is a possibility. I think that's something we got to keep in mind. So I'm glad you brought that up, Cornell. Thanks a lot. Kayla EQ2 writes, so, John, did you see what IMHO, in my humble opinion, is the dumbest theory so far? Loki was pretending to be Banner the whole time. Yes, I did see that. I did see that theory. Of course, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, look, I would love it if that were true, because I would love to see Loki pop back up. But Banner was all alone in the Hulkbuster armor, talking. He wasn't doing it in front of everybody else just to put on a show. We saw Banner alone in the Hulkbuster armor, talking to Hulk, trying to get Hulk to come out, and Hulk comes out for a second just to say no. So that really undoes that. I mean, if Thor was standing there watching him, you could say Loki just did that fake Thor or that fake Hulk face just to fool Thor. You could make that argument, but that's not what happened. He was by himself in the Hulk armor, still trying to do it. So, God, I would love to buy into that theory, because you guys know how much I love the Loki character. But Loki dead. Loki dead. I wish the theory was right, but it just does not hold up to scrutiny whatsoever. Alex Von Gollum writes, hey, John, greetings from T.O. Thank you so much. I love Toronto. Thoughts on possibility that Shuri creates new gauntlet using vibranium. That way, Avengers could start to unsnap things. Well, here's the problem, Alex. Gauntlet is useless without Infinity Stones. The gauntlet in and of itself is not the power. The gauntlet is powered by the stones. So you can go ahead, make a gauntlet out of vibranium. You ain't got no Infinity Stones. Oops. I mean, yeah, no, I don't see them making it, because again, it's completely useless without having the stones themselves. Bernard Gayton writes, random thought, Ultron was a great villain, advanced Tony's character, but would Ebony Maw be a good Avengers 2 villain? Well, again, Bernard, I appreciate the question, but we're really here to talk about Avengers 4. We're here to talk about Avengers 4. So, guys, for the rest of you who are sending in questions, please, let's keep it to talking about Avengers 4 and what our theories are going to be there. But, sure, I guess. I love Ebony Maw, so sure, he would be a great villain in any movie you want to put him in. Andrew Gifford writes, I think Avengers 4 will continue the theme of sacrifice by having the most, if not all, of the OG Avengers sacrifice themselves to save the new Avengers. Well, there is a theme in Avengers 3 of we don't trade lives, right? That's something Cap says. And, then Vision rightly retorts to him and says, well, Cap, you say that, but you yourself were willing to trade your life for saving millions. I don't think Cap and the other Avengers sacrifice themselves to save the new Avengers. I do see them sacrificing themselves to save billions of people. That I could see them doing. But I could see heroes doing that in any hero movie. So how that would directly tie in or how that would make sense narratively, I'm not sure. But it's definitely a possibility because it continues on with that theme that they started in Avengers 3 with trading lives, trading a life for a life. But again, I don't think they do it just to save new Avengers. They could very well do it to save billions of people or trillions across the galaxy. They could do it for that if there's some narrative way that they set it up for that to happen. Again, I don't think Captain America's going to die. I don't think Iron Man's going to die. But maybe they do, maybe they don't. If they do, that's one way that it could happen for sure. RC writes, when Thanos wiped out half of all life, he must have got attention of other cosmic beings off screen. No kidding. Maybe the Celestials or others will fight Thanos. It's possible. You could raise an argument, though, that if you look at like Kurt Russell in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you could say that the Celestials just may not care. I mean, maybe that thing just doesn't affect the Celestials and say, oh, you wiped out half the life and you're, so what? How does that affect me? So it could be a situation where the Celestials just don't care. Because you're right. I mean, Thanos doing that would capture the attention of the entire galaxy. who may want to have something to do with it. But the entire galaxy may go, well, it's done. I mean, what's done is done. And it's not like Thanos is threatening us anymore. So what's done is done. And he's clearly too powerful for us to deal with. We'll just try to stay in his good graces moving forward. But so I could see, while it totally makes sense that everybody else in the universe would want at Thanos, I could see why maybe nobody else in the universe would want to do anything about it at the same time. So we'll have to see. It does open up some interesting possibilities, though, RC, and we'll have to see which ones they decide to pursue and which ones they decide to just leave alone. Holid Love writes, I'm guessing the 6 core Avengers story ends here, either by sacrificing themselves to destroy the stones or leaving Earth to be with the Infinity Watch. I don't necessarily agree. Here's why, too. Going back to, say, the big press thing to announce Phase 3. Kevin Feige at that event, and I was at that event, Kevin Feige, somebody brought up Black Widow and was like, will Black Widow get her own movie, blah, blah, blah. Now, at the time, he said that, you know what? We don't have any plans for a Black Widow movie right now. But he said, we have lots of plans for Black Widow, though. Black Widow's this great character that we can use all over the MCU. And we have a lot of plans for her in the future. And when he said that, I never got the impression that he just meant Phase 3. He said, we got a lot of plans for Black Widow. And by the way, recent news came out that Kevin Feige and Marvel are now exploring doing a standalone Black Widow movie. And they've even hired a screenwriter that is now working on a script for a Black Widow movie. Now, it doesn't mean it's automatically happening, but they are moving forward with it and they're investigating it and looking into maybe doing it. They got the screenwriter hired. They're working with Scarlett Johansson. Like Scarlett Johansson is able to give notes to the screenwriter, and they're trying to come up with a Black Widow movie. Well, if that's the case, I'm guessing Black Widow doesn't die in Avengers 4. And if Black Widow doesn't die in Avengers 4, there goes the idea that all the original 6 die. They clearly don't. So that could mean all of them don't die. I also don't see them killing off Hulk. I just don't see. Hulk is just too useful of a character in that universe, man. You can do so many cool things with Hulk. So it seems like the notion that the original Avengers are all going to die. Well, it sounds like Kevin Feige's already planning a Black Widow movie sometime after Avengers 4. So I don't think so. Could all be a big misdirect. And maybe Scarlett Johansson's character does die in the opening moments of Avengers. We don't know. But on the surface, it looks like they've got plans for her moving forward, which means they could probably have plans for other characters as well. Let's see. DJ CDO1 writes, hoping for an Avengers Assemble. Oh man, you and me both, dude. You and me both. Hoping for an Avengers Assemble from Cap and Thanos SmackDown from Avengers. White version of Vision. Again, I hope Vision's dead because you killed him. And you killed him twice before the snap. So I think you got to keep him dead. Don't undo. Nothing matters in the MCU if you just keep bringing them all back. So I don't know, but yes, I want to see Cap and Thanos fight again. I want to see that fight again. And you're right. More than anything else, dude, I just want to hear Captain America yell, Avengers Assemble, and all the Avengers coming in. Like the heavens will open. It'll just be awesome. I hope that happens so badly, man. I'm so with you on that. Luna Comics writes, of all the Avengers, with those who got dusted come back, and they all charge at Thanos. I mean, that could be a thing. I mean, my thought, here's the one thing against that, Luna. My one thought against that would be, for all the characters who got dusted to be back, that implies Thanos has already been defeated. For all of them to be back, that seems like something that happens as a result of the defeat of Thanos. How do you get them back if you don't defeat Thanos? It seems to me, and again, I don't know what their narrative is, and maybe they've got a way to do it. Maybe they've already figured this out. I'm just saying right now, to me, on the surface, it seems like all the characters coming back is a result of the defeat of Thanos, not something you do to defeat Thanos. It seems like a chicken before the egg kind of thing, you know what I mean? So it would make for an incredible visual, because nowhere in Infinity War did you get all of the MCU heroes all going at Thanos at once. It was at different points, at different fights with different groups. Have it all happen at once would make for a stunning visual spectacular. Again, the problem, though, is it seems like you have to defeat Thanos in order to get everybody else back to start with. But who knows? Maybe they got a story arc around that. Let's see. Wave Wonder writes, I think they'll retire the OG Avengers by sacrificing Cap, inspiring the others to live in peace. Tony with baby, Thor rebuilds, Widow and Hulk marry. Possible. I still don't see Captain America dying, but you know what? If anybody's going to be the one to step up and sacrifice himself, it's going to be Captain America. I lament an MCU without Captain America. To me, I've said this before, I'll say it again, he is the most important part because he's the heart. You may have built the MCU around the Iron Man character, but the Captain America character is the moral compass. He is the heart. He's the integrity. He's the character of the MCU. And the idea of an MCU without Captain America there, not somebody else pretending to be Captain America, the true Captain America, Steve Rogers. Without Steve Rogers there to be that moral North Star, it feels sad to me. It just kind of feels a little bit sad to me for him not to be there and to be a part of that. So I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see. Hey, dude, clearly there's a lot of people in this chat board today. They're saying, yeah, they believe Captain dies. Now, then again, everybody thought Captain America was going to die in Civil War. And then everybody thought Captain America was going to die in Avengers Infinity War. And so eventually, hey, look, even a broken clock is right twice a day. Eventually, maybe they'll be right. And maybe it is with Avengers 4. A lot of people seem to think so. Totally could happen. I hope not. The MCU without Steve Rogers seems like a sadder place to me. But who knows? Maybe that's the direction they're going. All right. Javier Belmer writes, so there's an interview where the Russo brothers say Avengers Forever was the closest title to the truth. So they recruit heroes through time, maybe? I don't think so. And really, honestly, Javier, I wouldn't take anything that the Russos are saying with any weight. I would take anything they're saying with a giant grain of salt. I mean, Avengers Forever, maybe they're just saying that's the closest thing because it's Avengers, one word. Or it's Avengers and a word that starts with F. Or it's Avengers and the word forever is in the title somewhere. I mean, we just don't have any idea. So I would hesitate to start building and constructing theories around what the movie is going to be based off something the film director said maybe might be a part of a title and might not be. It just seems like kind of a vain errand at this point. So I would kind of let that go. I wouldn't worry about that at this point. All right. Film Freak writes, I know it's a little early, but would you like to see Civil War 2 storyline in Captain Marvel 3? I'm not a big fan of Civil War 2. If you're talking about the comics themselves, I wasn't a big fan of Civil War 2, to be honest with you. So if you're asking me if I would like to see that, my answer is no. Would I be open to it? Sure. There are a lot of things that I wouldn't necessarily like, but I'd be open to see what they do. Sure, I'd be open to it, but would I like it? No. Would they do it? Possibly, maybe. That could be something they're looking at down the road. But off the top of my head, just because I'm not a fan of what they did in the graphic novels with Civil War 2, probably wouldn't be all that up for it. Khalil EQ2 writes, I think Tony, Banner, Rocket, and Shuri will work on the way to reverse the snap. Thoughts? I think if time travel and the quantum realm is a big part of that, I think you're talking Shuri, Banner, Tony, and Hank Pym. I think Hank Pym, first of all, there's no other way to time travel without the time stone. And you don't got the time stone. So there's that. The only other way that's been revealed or suggested in the MCU so far is the quantum realm. Okay, who's the world's foremost expert on the quantum realm? One guy, that's Hank Pym. So I think Hank Pym has to be a part of any of those brain trusts. Rocket is a great engineer, but he's not the best scientist per se. So I would say it would probably be a quartet of Banner, Tony, Shuri, and Hank Pym, but I think Hank Pym's got to be a part of that. So whether I'm right or wrong, we'll have to wait and see, but that's kind of my theory right now. Okay, Peter writes, Cap says Avengers Assemble wields Stormbreaker Mjolnir and dies in the movie. Oh, God. Well, first of all, I mean, they tease in Age of Ultron that Tony came really close to being able to wield Mjolnir, right? He came real close to being able to do that. So that's a possibility. I would lose my mind if Cap picks up somehow a resurrected Mjolnir or picks up Stormbreaker or something along those lines. I would lose my freaking mind. I would lose it so much. Definitely, as we said already in this video, definitely there's got to be an Avengers Assemble reference. There's got to be an Avengers Assemble battle cry spoken out. That's got to happen. And then, who else? We'll see where it goes from there. But that would be, oh my God. If through time travel and everything, you got Thor with Stormbreaker and Captain America beside him with Mjolnir, oh my God. I'll lose my mind. Totally lose my mind. Because Cap is worthy. Cap is worthy. All right, anyway. Jack121 writes, wouldn't time travel potentially undercut the deaths of Infinity War, Snap, or not? Also, what if the time travel is like Interstellar, where let's say Ant-Man is there, but the heroes can't fully see or hear him? I mean, that's a possibility too. Look, again, we come back to this group of pictures, right? This group of pictures, which is out of context, leaked set pictures. And it's always dangerous, and 9 times out of 10 completely wrong, to build theories around out-of-context leaked set photos. Let's go back again. When Batman vs. Superman was coming out, the pictures of the actor Scoot McNairy with green legs on, with green leggings on. And everybody's like, that was a leaked out-of-context picture. And he's Flash. He's playing Flash because he's got green screen on his leg. So he's going to be Flash. And no, some people said, he's a Green Lantern. He's going to play, this character. He's going to be Green Lantern. That's who he's playing because he's got green on. And everybody was wrong. He was a character in a wheelchair. The leaked out of context sex pictures of Captain Marvel. Remember, she's wearing the green suit. Everybody's building these cheers. Oh, it's this, it's this, it's this. You know what? They hadn't even started shooting the movie yet. That was just costume tests. Meant nothing. And that's the thing with this. It's an out-of-context set picture. Now, here's the one set picture that I kind of came across as well. That might mean a little bit more. Let's see if I can blow this up for you guys a bit here. Okay, let's take a look at this. So, what we're seeing here now is, what a lot of people have been pointing out is that Cap, Tony, and Ant-Man all seem to have some kind of device that they've got on them, right? So, what does that mean? Maybe they're all working for S.H.I.E.L.D. and that's a new S.H.I.E.L.D. communication device. Maybe it's something that Hank Pym came up with about transversing the quantum realm, and you got to have this on you if you're displacing yourself in time. Now, what makes this interesting, let me slide over here. What makes this interesting here is that if that's the case, and again, these are all huge ifs, so many ifs with this whole scenario. If that's the case, then what we have here is, let's say that's Ant-Man traveling back in time with Tony Stark is traveling back in time. If Cap's wearing that thing too, that means Cap has traveled back. This is not Captain America from the past. This is Captain America, despite the fact that he's wearing the costume of the old one. This is Captain America from the Avengers 4 timeline, coming back in time with them if they're all wearing these devices, right? But again, who knows? We're building theories around out of context, leaked set photos, which it's always folly trying to build theories around out of context, leaked set photos. For all we know, they're just fancy. Those are friendship bracelets. For all we know, these are just fancy versions of New Avengers friendship bracelets, and they mean nothing more than that. I mean, we simply don't know, right? So we shouldn't read too much into them, but it is interesting. It's really, really interesting. As far as the first part there, Jack, about when the time travel undercut the deaths of Infinity War, Snap. Well, anything they do to bring back and undo the snap and bring back those characters, anything they do undercuts the deaths that happened. Anything they do. But it seems like that's what we know that's what they're going to do because there's a Spider-Man Homecoming 2. So Peter's got to come back to life somehow. So what we're doing here is theorizing which avenue do they take. Does time travel undercut the deaths? Yes, it does. But anything they do to bring these characters back undercuts the deaths. So we just got to accept that at this point and now theorize about, well, which ones will they do? Hey guys, listen, I'm not going to stop. I only plan to do this video for an hour, but we're still going strong. So I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to let you guys know. I am, as you can see, my throat is getting sore. I've been going for almost an hour and a half, about an hour and 15 minutes now. My drink has run dry. So I'm going to answer one more question, and then we are going to take a 2-minute break. All right. If you guys will indulge me, we're going to take a 2-minute break. I'll keep the stream going. I'll put up a graphic. We'll take a 2-minute break, and I'll be right back. So I'm going to go down, refill this thing, just take a quick breath, and then we'll get going again. So last question we'll take, and then we're going to take a 2-minute break. Then we'll get right back into it. Anthony J. Lee writes, Russo brothers shared Hulk statement stating that he didn't come out because of Ragnarok and how he's tired of saving Banner's ass. Not scared of Thanos' thoughts. I did not see that statement. So I can't really address that. That doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me because Hulk never wants Banner to be out. Hulk wants to be out. Hulk wants to be alive. Hulk wants to do his thing. That doesn't make sense to me. So again, I never saw that statement. I never heard anybody say that they said that. If they did say it, I'd still want to see what context. I want to see the full context of their statement and what they're talking about. So I'd have to see that. As of right now, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it. So there's that. All right. We are going to take just a quick 2-minute break here, guys. Then we're going to come back and get to Kella EQ2's question. So 2-minute break. You can start counting now. We'll be right back continuing on with our Avengers 4 theory discussion. All right, guys, and we are back. Thank you for indulging me taking a short break. I was able to go down and refill my cup. Diet Pepsi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for the goodness. All right, let's keep things rolling. By the way, there's a UFC tonight, so I can't go too much longer because I gotta get ready for the UFC fights. Kella EQ2 writes, forgot my PIM in my brain trust list. Oh, okay, yeah. So obviously, don't worry about it. I had you. PIM's got to be a part of that for sure. Out of Time writes, who out of the Ant-Man team do you think is dusted? I say Janet, Casey, and Luis. Maybe Hank Pym. Give Scott an emotional arc in Avengers 4. Well, I could see Casey and I can see Janet. I think they need Hank Pym. That's the thing. I think you need Hank Pym for the whole quantum realm transversing. Then again, maybe he passes on enough knowledge to Ant-Man as it is. And Paul Rudd's character takes it from there. So maybe that's the case, but I think he probably survives. I really hope Luis survives. I would love to see Luis in Avengers 4. I would love to see Luis trying to tell something to Tony Stark and watching Tony Stark's eyes. That would just be a precious moment of the whole thing. So I think a couple of them are gone. Like I said, I can see Jenna, I can see Casey, but I think Hank, and I would like to see Luis stick around, but he could go too, absolutely. Let's see, let's move on here. Keller writes again, not a speculation, but how in all that is good did Disney convince Sony to let them, quote unquote, kill Spider-Man? Oh, because he's coming back. It's just that simple. Look, they gave Spider-Man a great highlight moment in Avengers 3, and there's no consequence because they're just going to bring him back. So that's how you convince them to let them do that, is say, hey, we're going to kill him here. He's going to have this great moment. Sony probably had a big say in what Spider-Man's lines were too, by the way. And then we're going to bring him back, so no worries. So that's how they convinced Sony to let them do that. Dimsum05 writes, they have to go back in time. Cap never gets frozen, gets old. Tony never gets caught in the cave. Remains jerk. Timeline resets. Well, it depends on how far back in time they go. Because if they just go back in time to say what the speculation now is to the Battle of New York, when the Chitauri attack, then Cap's already out of the frozen thing. Iron Man's already have this game. But that would be funny if they went back far enough in time that Cap never goes down or never gets found in the ice, just dies. Tony never gets caught in that cave. I like the way you worded that. Remains jerk. I like that. And timeline resets. It's an interesting theory. It's funny, man. Rashad Johnson writes, will Thanos have a team or support in Avengers 4? Well, it goes back to what we were saying before, Rashad. It really depends on how do they plan on using Thanos. Like, it's possible Thanos isn't even in the entire movie until like the last part of the third act. Because right now, as far as Thanos is concerned, everything's good. He's not out conquesting anybody. He's retired now. He's sitting on his grassy hill, watching the sunset, becoming a farmer, doing whatever it is he wants to do. He's relaxed. The only reason I see Thanos getting back involved is he becomes aware that the Avengers have come up with a legit plan to undo what Thanos did. At that point, he still has the gauntlet. So he really wouldn't need backup. Seeing all of the MCU heroes fighting Thanos at once would be spectacular. I would love to see it. So I don't think he needs backup. But look, he still has his Chitauri army. He still has other forces, I'm sure, out there that he could utilize if he wants. So I guess it all depends on what story arc they decide to follow. Dim Sum follows up. The ones left behind were the ones that actually died. The dusted remain alive. The original find out they died all along towards the end of Avengers 4. Well, the problem with that is, like, so Spider-Man's line was, like, Spider-Man realized he was dying. Like, I've seen a number of people say, hey, what if the people who lived are actually the ones who died? Okay, but let's follow that for a second. If that's the case, then, like, Spider-Man knew he was dying. He felt himself dying, and he died. He didn't feel himself staying in reality. He felt himself dying. So, while there are a lot, you're not alone, Dim Sum. There are a lot of people out there who hold this theory that the ones we think survived are actually the ones that died, and the ones we think died are the ones that actually survived. There are a lot of people out there, I just don't see supporting evidence for that. But like I said, a lot of you guys think it, so maybe that's the case. I just don't see it right now. Patrick Conway writes, what if Tony or Thor says Avengers Assemble instead? If Tony or Thor say Avengers Assemble, this is what it would be like to me. Remember Star Trek Into Darkness? The line, Khan! That's a James T. Kirk line. And remember, in Star Trek Into Darkness, they had Spock do the Khan line instead. That pissed everybody off. I love that movie. I really like Star Trek Into Darkness, but that line pissed me off too. Like, I know there's a lot of people who didn't like the movie, and almost everybody was pissed off at the line, but I was also pissed off at that. If they have anybody other than Cap yell that line, I'll be pissed. To go through 10 years of the MCU, never hearing Captain America say it, and then finally when it is said, being said by somebody else, screw that. Screw that. Right in the anus. Screw that. No, sir. No. That cannot be allowed. God, I hope they're not so stupid that they do that. That would be awful. I was so mad if they did that. 10 years and Captain never says it. And then when it's finally said, it's not Cap saying it. Screw that. Screw that. Damn, you just got me mad. Now I'm mad. Now I'm all worked up. Okay. Dudley Fordham writes. Where'd he go? There he goes. Dudley Fordham writes, The Extraordinaries, Lonesome Willie, Captain Crazy, and Pathfinder in Avengers 4. Here's the thing. Avengers 4, like, all seriousness, Avengers 4 is about wrapping up the story, right? I don't think it becomes an avenue for introducing 15 new characters. Maybe a new character. I mean, we're going to already have Captain Marvel will already be there because Captain Marvel will have already had her standalone film. So she's not new in Avengers 4. I just don't think Avengers 4 is the time or the place to introduce 15 new characters. You know what I mean? So, and I don't think they will. So I think no, I don't think that's going to happen, like on any kind of large scale, whichever characters we mention. Keller writes, post Avengers 4, I want to see a huge reduction in the stakes of the MCU, like just above Netflix shows level of stakes. Thoughts? Well, the MCU goes back and forth. I mean, for every, like, yeah, we do get, we get Doctor Strange trying to save our realm, but then we get Ant-Man trying to save his family, right? What they need to do, and then we get somewhere in between where we get Black Panther trying to save his country. So what we need from the MCU is a moving back and forth. They got to change gears, keep changing them up. Like in MMA, it's called changing levels, right? You're striking, throw some leg kicks. Make sure you attempt some takedowns. Make sure you're changing levels so your opponent doesn't start to be able to anticipate what you're going to do. I think with the MCU, there's something with that as well. I think you got to change levels. Go from save the neighborhood to save the galaxy, to save my city, to save this country, to save this little child, to save the world again. I mean, change it up. Don't make it one thing. Don't make it all just about saving the neighborhood. Don't make it all about saving the country. Don't make it all about saving the world. Don't make it all about saving the galaxy, but keep jumping back and forth. Have different movies with different levels so we get emotionally invested into it more, and it's always changing things up, and I think that's kind of their key. Brian Snook just sent in a super chat. Thanks a lot, Brian. Christian Herrera writes, do you think Captain Marvel will stand a chance against Thanos? And also, who do you think will lead Wakanda in Avengers 4? Well, with as far as Captain Marvel standing a chance against Thanos with a fully infused Infinity Gauntlet, no, she doesn't stand a chance, not by herself. I don't think anybody really does, save Thor, a fully powered Thor with Stormbreaker. But no, I don't think Captain Marvel. Look, if Captain Marvel stands a chance against a fully powered Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet and all the stones involved, then Captain Marvel becomes a character you just can never use because she's just, any character that does that is just far too powerful. Far too powerful to tell any interesting stories around. So it's too much. She could be more powerful than anybody else, but not being able to stand a chance one-on-one against Thanos with a full Infinity Gauntlet. Shouldn't happen. Just can't happen. That's far too powerful. So I'm going to say no. But she can be a significant piece of the puzzle in the fight against Thanos. Yes. There's a significant piece of the puzzle. Like maybe the thing that tips the scales in favors of the heroes over Thanos. Yes. One-on-one probably shouldn't be. Because if that's the case, what story can you tell with Captain Marvel? Like if you got a single being who can take out Thanos with an Infinity Gauntlet, what story can you tell that's going to be interesting? It would be very difficult. Keller writes, 2 hours in, Hawkeye shows up, one shots Thanos snap reset. Yeah, just fight, another fight's going, blah, 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 and just out of nowhere, I'm here, guys. Arrow right to Thanos' eye. Everything changed. Reality's reset. The day is saved with one arrow from Hawkeye. Despite the fact that you got Hulk, Captain Marvel, all these superhuman beings, Thor, the God of Thunder. Clint just comes in. Boom. One arrow to his eye. Resets. There you go. That's where Hawkeye was. Brian Snook writes, what if Tony finds out Pepper was pregnant, but unborn Tony Jr. was dusted inside her womb? I think that's something you would have shown in Avengers Infinity War. I think if Pepper was going to be dusted, you show that because that would have been emotional for the audience. I think you would have showed that. Plus, I think she would have got the message to Tony that she was pregnant, so it could have had an impact on him in that moment. Remember, Avengers 4 is picking up a year later. So whatever emotional scene you're going to have with Tony, it happened a year ago, right? So that's why I don't think, plus we've seen set pictures with Tony and Gwyneth Paltrow. So that seems to suggest that's not the case. So I'm going to go with that. Again, it's possible, but I think the evidence that we have right now points against that. But hey, anything's possible. Holid Love writes, Hawkeye won't be in Avengers 4. He's just too overpowered. Well, he's just too overpowered. Oh, yeah, he's going to be in Avengers 4. I believe they've already confirmed he's going to be in Avengers 4. So, yeah, no problems there. Alex Von Gollum writes, do you think Thanos has weakened due to the snap? His left arm seemed wounded, although he still has all the stones. I think he is, after the events of Avengers Infinity War, I believe Thanos is weakened. But by the time Avengers 4 rolls around and it's a year later, he's probably back to full strength. I would guess. I got nothing to back that up with. I got nothing to solidly state that for sure, but I would guess that he's probably back up to full power by that time. Let's see here. Timothy Pallett writes, and by the way, guys, let me throw this in there right now. I still got a bunch of questions to get through, but I'm running out of time. If you have not sent in a question, please send in no more questions. No more questions. I want to be able to, even though we're way over time already. We're already an hour and a half, more than an hour and a half into this. I want to get through every question that we got here. So yes, please, no more questions. Let me just zoom down to the bottom here. Right. Oh my God, we got way more than I thought. Okay, hold a second here. Kevin Bennett will be the last question we take. Okay. So let's see. We go back to Timothy Pallett. Okay, Timothy Pallett writes, I know it's not going to happen, but if Cap and Coulson get reunited somehow in Avengers 4, and the last thing we see Cap do is sign a pack of trading cards for him, I will be in a huge flood of tears. Timothy, I'm with you. Because, okay, everybody knows I'm not a big fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. What I am a big fan of is the character of Agent Coulson and the guy who plays him, Clark Gregg. I love Clark Gregg, and I love his character, Agent Coulson. I think they have not built a very good show around that character. He's the only reason I watch that show. I don't like the show, and yet I still watch it because I love Clark Gregg and the way he plays Agent Coulson so much. I love you, Timothy. Thank you for saying that. The idea of seeing Coulson in Avengers 4 and Cap signs baseball trading cards of his Captain America cards. What a callback to the first Avengers movie that would be. That would be so special. I probably wouldn't be crying, but there would be a grin on my face, like an idiot's grin, level 10. I got to make a t-shirt that says that. Idiot's grin, level 10. I would have an idiot's grin, level 10 on my face if one of the final moments of the movie is Cap taking Coulson's Captain America baseball card and signing it for him. Oh my God, what a great callback that would be to one of the best moments of the first Avengers movie. I would love it, man. Thanks for suggesting. It's never going to happen, but I love that you brought that up because that makes me smile, man. Keller writes, Groot's first death stuck per James Gunn. Yeah. So what a lot of people don't realize still is that the Groot we see in Guardians 2 and in Avengers 3 is not the same Groot from the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Groot died. That baby Groot was like a genetic offspring of Groot. It's basically in many ways his son. That's not Groot. His name is Groot, but all creatures from that species are called Groot because you speak Groot. But yeah, that's not Groot from the first Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a different Groot. James Gunn confirmed that, saying, no, look, Groot died. That Groot we saw in Guardians of the Galaxy when he died. This baby Groot is a new character of the same species, genetically an offspring of the original Groot, but this isn't Groot. This is Groot. Did that make sense? This isn't Groot. This little cute thing in the plant, this baby Groot, this isn't Groot. This is Groot. Not Groot, Groot. So yeah, a lot of people don't realize that it's not one and the same character. It's Groot died, and this is a new Groot. Now we've had 2 Groots die. Damn, they just love killing Groots. All right, Pensive Ruin writes, Superman died and not died. Is that like MCU? Well, I mean, the thing is this, though. When Superman died, in the death of Superman, this was before it became standard operating procedure in comic books to just bring everybody back to life. Like when they killed Superman in the death of Superman, it shook the world. Not just the comic book world, it shook the world. Because it was not a standard operating thing to just bring every character back. Like today, it doesn't matter. You can write, Wolverine dies in this month's comic issue of Wolverine. Nobody will care because, okay, that's fine, but they're just going to bring him back in a month or 2, right? Because, yeah, that's what they do now. But that wasn't the case all the time. So when they brought Superman back, it was a different kind of thing because it wasn't standard operating procedure at the time. Now it's overdone way too much in the comics and obviously in the movies. And if you're talking about the death of Superman in the movie, yeah. And the thing is, the funny thing is that they undid it right in Batman versus Superman, right? In Batman versus Superman, he dies at the hands of Doomsday, but the very last shot of the movie is the dirt on his coffin and the dirt start to vibrate and rise up. It's like, okay, he's alive. And look, I'll say this for the DCU, though. That's the first time they did it. They didn't do it in Man of Steel. So it was the first time they did it. Batman vs. Superman was the first time they did it. They didn't fake kill. That was their first fake kill. The MCU has done it a dozen times. And I'm just hoping they don't continue on with that. Okay, let's see here. Next one. Bombus467 writes, Snap open a way for Skrulls to replace heroes. I don't think so. No, I've heard that theory a lot. Look, we're going to get Skrulls, but I don't think any of our heroes that died were Skrulls. So no, I don't buy into that theory. Now, we could watch Captain Marvel, and that could totally be what it is. But right now, I'm going to stick to the side that I don't think that's part of it at all. Joe Menjavar writes, at the end, if everyone is undusted, does humanity remember Thanos and what happened? Or is everything just put back to normal with no one being wiser? I think they probably all remember. I would think. I mean, it would seem like it would be a big waste if they just said, oh, nobody in the world remembers what happened. Because you have an opportunity for the events of Infinity War to be a defining moment for all the characters moving forward after Avengers 4. If you just say nobody remembers it, then that really undoes everything. Like, not only did everything not ever really happen, but no growth comes as a result of it. No turmoil, no hard memories, no sacrifices, it's all undone. And that would seem like a waste. So while that is a narrative tool that's available to them, I think it would be a little bit of a waste if they did that. All right, Laurie Scott writes, I love Gamora and Peter, but I hope she stays dead. I'd like Loki to come back, but with consequences such as being a different version. Child Loki, for instance. Yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing, Laurie. Like, you know how much I love Loki. But the thing is, they've already fake killed him twice. Right? They fake killed him at the end of Thor, and then they fake killed him at the end of Thor 2. I mean, you've already fake killed him twice. Can you do it a third time? And like, when Thanos kills Loki and he says, no resurrections this time, what I think that was Kevin Feige speaking to the audience. I don't actually think no resurrections this time was Thanos talking to Thor. I think that was Kevin Feige talking to the audience, saying, hey, I know we've killed Loki twice before, and he keeps coming back. Don't worry, folks. This is different. There are consequences now. He dies, he dies. That's what I think that was. So I don't think we're going to see that happen. And I love the Loki character. But Loki died in a great narrative way, trying to save his brother. He died a heroic death. I'm as a fan of the Loki character, I'm satisfied. So I don't think they're going to bring him back there. Film Freak writes, top 5 MCU movies to really say. Again, Film Freak, we're here to talk about Avengers 4. So I'd rather keep the focus on Avengers 4. I will say this. Avengers, I do believe Infinity War is in my top 5 MCU movies. It's not my top 3, but it might be my top 5. Bombus467 writes, how is time travel okay after warnings in Strange? Well, it's not that it's okay. They feel like they got no other choice. Right? I mean, for Cap, Falcon died. Aside from Bucky, Falcon's been his best friend. And speaking of Bucky, Bucky died. Scarlet Witch died, somebody that Cap was starting to look at as a little sister. She dies. Half the world dies. I mean, what bigger consequence could there be to half of the life of the universe dies? So, yes, is it a good idea? Is it okay? What I would suggest is, okay isn't part of the conversation. It kind of becomes, we have to undo this. This isn't about my cousin Mary who died. This isn't about, this is half the life in the universe was wiped out like that. That's gotta be undone. So I'm going to guess going into Avengers 4 that the term, is this okay, is not part of the discussion. And so whether it's right or wrong or okay or not okay, that's not something they're worried about. What they're worried about is billions of people. Just on their world, billions of people died. Not a person, not a family, not half a town. Billions of people died. So what is okay and not okay, the line is going to get blurred for them, I have a feeling. And whereas Captain America, Steve Rogers, may be the one that normally says, no, this is beyond us, we can't play God, billions died. Falcon died. Winter Soldier died. Scarlet Witch died. I mean, I think everybody's going to reset their parameters on what's okay and what's not okay. And I think we're going to see that. I think there's going to be a little bit of that. Actually, it's interesting you bring that up, Bombus, because I think the moral discussion will come up. But I think it'll end fairly quickly with, we can't worry about what's okay and not okay. Billions of people died. That can't be allowed to stand. That's probably going to be where they land on. I'm guessing. Rory Fansler writes, Gamora in Soulstone call out, not a cheat. Heart of Universe could undo things. Thor could wield it. Oh no, it's still totally a cheat. It's absolutely a cheat. You sold us as the audience on the death of Gamora. In this incredibly powerful moment between her and Thanos, to just bring her back to life by whichever mechanism you use is a cheap cheat. It's a totally cheap cheat. It's a total cop-out. It's a suck-out. It's whatever terminology you want to use. And it's Bush League. They're going to do it. They're going to bring her back by whatever mechanism. But whichever mechanism they use doesn't make it okay. It's still, you sold us on this powerful moment in the movie with the death of this character. Oh, we're just going to do it. Now it's undone. Don't worry, guys. That meant nothing. Meant nothing. So moving forward, I'm not going to give a shit about any character that dies because you'll just come up with some lame excuse to bring them back to life. So there are no stakes. There are no consequences in the MCU. The one big criticism a lot of people like to level against the MCU will be proved right. There's no stakes. Because you kill everybody and you bring them all back every time. Quicksilver being the one exception. But you bring everybody back all the time. So it's, to me, the method by which they bring them back is irrelevant. Just the fact that they bring them back is the cheap out to me. But anyway, that's just kind of how I feel about it. It's just that the MCU's gone back to that well way too many times. Way too many times. Create this emotional moment for the audience because, oh no, this character died. Oh no, they weren't really dead. Or they were dead, but now they're back to life. I mean, it's all the same thing. Brian Snook writes, Civil War Spidey post-credits could be Tony sending a message back in time to Peter to warn him. That post-credit never made sense to me. Oh, it always made sense to me. I don't think so. I mean, it's a very creative thought, Brian, but I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think that has anything to do with it. Laurie Scott writes, I've seen the movie 8 times. Holy crap, I'm still stuck on 3. I got to see it again. I've seen the movie 8 times and watched carefully. Shuri's hand motion changed drastically when she realizes somebody is breaking in. She did something we don't know about to Vision. The Russos are planning something. Again, no, Lori, look, the whole notion that maybe she downloaded Vision, again, to me, another cheap cop-out. You killed Vision twice, and he's still not dead, and you're going to bring him back again. Because, again, to the audience you portrayed, look, audience, oh, the tragic death of Vision. Just kidding. Just kidding. Like, how many times are you going to do that? How many times are you going to do that? Whatever mechanism you use, how many times are you going to do that? Now, going back to Shuri's hand motions, yes, but to me, as an audience member, it always just struck me that now she was rushing. She was panicking, rushing, and desperately trying to get done whatever it was she was trying to do. The whole notion that she downloads Vision, and that's a popular theory, that she downloads Vision and re-uploads. Man, I don't know, because if you can't even off the robot, who can you off? And I love Paul Bettany, and I love the Vision character, but come on, if you can't even off the robot, who can you off? If you can't even kill Vision twice and keep him dead, then what characters are you going to keep dead? I mean, that's the thing, like, to me. So that is a possibility, Lori, and you're not the only one to have that theory. There are a bunch of people who have the theory, and it's a valid theory that Shuri downloaded Vision somehow, some way. Okay, fine. But again, that just, to me, goes back to, oh, good, yet another excuse for bringing yet another character that you had die in the movie, and yet another excuse to bring another one of them back. And it's my one big problem with the MCU. Nothing matters. Nothing matters in the MCU. Because whatever you do, you can just undo like that in the next movie. And that kind of sucks. That really sucks. Because if I can't watch any MCU movie and ever feel any threat or feel any urgency or any true stakes, because, oh no, all the heroes might die, and know that I don't need to care about it, because even if they do die, they're going to be back in 5 minutes, or they're going to be back in the next movie, or whatever. It's really undermining everything in the MCU if that's what they do. So, and again, to me, if you can't even kill the robot, who the hell can you kill? So anyway, that's just kind of where my head's at. But you could very well be right, Lori. That very well could be what they did. I'm just hoping it's not what they did. Because again, it's another cheap cop-out of, look, audience, we killed somebody. Oh, no, we didn't. We're just kidding. Again, I just hope they don't do that. Anyway, Lori goes on and says, also, I blame you for my new hot toys. Oh, I try to warn you, though. I've warned you guys that starting to buy hot toys can become a dangerous, dangerous thing to do. Okay. Also, I blame you for my new hot toys. I have ordered Infinity War Cap, Black Panther, and Black Widow, and the Campea Thanos. By the way, guys, if you want to get into collecting some toys, I've been saying this before, but you don't want to break the bank, because hot toys can be very expensive, like $200 to $300 expensive, sometimes more. Check out Campea. They're not as good as the hot toys, but they are very good and priced very reasonably. And I've got a number of Campea. As you can tell, I've got some hot toys, but I've also got some Campea figures up here as well that I like very much. Let's see. Just be careful, Lori. Be careful, because buying those damn things can become addictive. Ben Lorenowitz writes, Russos versus Ruffalo's claim about Hulk. Who's right? Again, I'm not taking anything anybody says at this point with any seriousness. I'm really not. I'm not taking any of them with any seriousness at this point. Alan Gonzalez writes, if the footage of Avengers 4 are real, it's time travel. Will they prevent Quicksilver from getting killed and also Agent Coulson. Well, we already know that Agent Coulson isn't dead. Agent Coulson's alive. He's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so he's not dead anyway. Yet another example of Marvel going, oh, look, one of our beloved characters, Agent Coulson's dead. Just kidding. Look, he's back in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So yet another example of that. But anyway. So they don't need to save Agent Coulson because Agent Coulson is alive. So that's fine. They don't need to worry about that. And again, we talked a little bit earlier in this broadcast about the whole Quicksilver thing. It's possible. And look, if the footage that we've seen from Avengers 4 is real, it doesn't automatically mean it's time travel. Remember, I believe it probably points to that. But remember, there are a dozen other explanations about what it could be. Again, never bite into that whole thing about developing theories based around out of context, leaked set photos. Because 99% of the time, all the theories are wrong. We've seen it over and over again. So never get too invested in any theory that's built around an out-of-context leaked set photo, because most of the time we're wrong. Could be right. I kind of think it's time travel, but we could totally be wrong. So let's not get too invested in that. Tristan Sheehan writes, I feel all snap deaths will come back. I agree with you. Real question is when. I feel at least 15 minutes of the movie. Also, why does only Rocket left from Guardians of the Galaxy? Comedy value? I mean, who knows? Remember, to Thanos, it's all arbitrary. It's just random. And Rocket was the one kept behind. Now, from a filmmaker's point of view, they probably got a purpose for him. I don't think it's just for comedy value, though. I really don't. I don't think it's just for comedy value. So we'll have to wait and see what they're doing with that. But I think you can't bring everybody back just in the first 15 minutes. Can you? Can you? Like right in the first 15 minutes? Oh, everything that just happened at the end of Infinity War? Right away. Don't worry about it. It meant nothing. Like, they'd have to do more than that, wouldn't they? You would think? I mean, it's possible, but I just got to believe that it takes more than that, than there's 15 minutes. Let's see. Nate Gatsby writes, how do you think they'll handle the comedic elements of Avengers 4, considering how somber the ending of Infinity War was? Well, look, one of the things they've done great in the MCU is balancing that. Like, when things start to get heavy, lighten it up a little bit. Like, they've always done very well. I mean, again, let's look at Thor Ragnarok. There are some truly catastrophic, horrific events in Thor Ragnarok, but they always balanced it out by keeping it light with humor and things like that, right? So I think they're great at doing that. And remember as well that Avengers 4 picks up 1 year later, right? It's 1 year later. So it's not like the deaths just happened 5 minutes ago and goes, wow, anybody got a broom? Dun, 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 dun. Like that, too soon. It's a year later. So I think they can do that and they don't have to worry about that too awful much. Let's see. Jed Jensen writes, could you imagine how big of balls Marvel would have if everybody from Infinity War moving forward actually stayed dead? Unlikely, but I would love that. Dude, it would be amazing. It would be amazing if they actually did that. They're not going to, but it would be huge stones of boulders if they did that. When you killed somebody, they stayed dead. Like the stakes, you would always feel the stakes end. Because like, look, let's look at a Game of Thrones. The stakes are heavy and real because when they kill characters, they're dead. With very, very rare few exceptions. Like Ned Stark dies and he stayed dead. The events of Red Wedding are horrific because the people who died, stayed dead. That's what makes that so powerful. If the Red Wedding were to happen in the MCU, nobody would care nearly half as much because everybody is, well, most of them are just probably going to come back to life later anyway. But in Sons of Anarchy, when somebody dies, they die and they stay dead. So you're always in fear for your characters and you're always invested in the characters. Like Game of Thrones, Sons of Anarchy, a few other key shows that are totally have no qualms about killing off their characters. See, that brings a weight. That brings a dramatic weight that you can never have if you just keep fake killing everybody. And it's that type of dramatic weight that I would love to see the MCU get back to or get for the first time. It would be amazing. Gerard Quinata writes, Do you think we'll get a cool, massive team-up sequence in Avengers 4 like the first movie? Oh, I do. I really, at least I hope they do. But I think they're definitely setting it up, and I really do believe it's going to be crowned off with Captain America yelling, "Avengers Assemble." And then watching theaters across the world lose their minds when he does it. That'll be awesome. Let's see. Sebastian Lerda writes, Infinity War, any Oscar nominees? Best costume, best effects, best screenplay, any that you see on the horizon. Again, guys, I really just want to talk about Avengers 4, not Avengers 3. But I'll just address quickly. Costumes, possibly. Effects, definitely be nominated for that. Best screenplay, doubt it. A lot of technical stuff, none of the major ones, but a lot of the technical ones I can see getting nominated. Laurie Scott writes, people say Nebula is Tony's only way home, but Thor could also use the Bifrost to go find him. Oh, that's very true, actually, Laurie. No, you're absolutely right. I have been saying this whole time that Tony can get home, don't worry about it, because he's got Nebula, and that's pretty much his only way home. But you are absolutely right. Thor could use the Bifrost. Well, how would Thor know where he is? Well, he's got to have something in the Bifrost that lets him know where to go, because how did he know to go directly to Wakanda specifically? Not just Earth, he came specifically to Wakanda. So he could probably say to the Bifrost, take me to Tony Stark, and opens up a Bifrost and goes there. So I don't know that that's what they're going to do. I still think that the way he gets home is Nebula. I still think that's actually his way home. But you are absolutely right to saying that there is another option, and that's Thor with the Bifrost through Stormbreaker. It's a good observation, Laurie. Thanks for breaking that up. Alan Gonzalez writes, what if Homecoming 2 is before Infinity War? Again, a number of people suggesting that, but that would be cheap because that would make 3 films that all happen before the events of Avengers Infinity War. That would make 3 of them, because Ant-Man happens before Infinity War, Captain Marvel happens before Infinity War, and now they're going to cheap out and make it the Spider-Man happen before Infinity War. It seems like a bad idea. It's possible, but I don't think that's the way they go. And everything I've heard Kevin Feige say about Infinity War is that Kevin Feige has said that Homecoming 2 deals with the ramifications of things that happen in Infinity War and Avengers 4. So from what I understand from what Kevin Feige said, I think Kevin Feige has pretty much put that to rest, that Homecoming 2 does indeed happen after the events of Avengers 4. Bombas467 writes, Tony plus Nebula, he can upgrade the crap out of her. That's true, although Nebula's technology is probably beyond even Tony, but that would make for an interesting pairing, wouldn't it? Let's see here. Mitchell Chandler writes, thought the Avengers can't hold an Infinity Stone. They may be able to integrate them into their armor and weapons. Ronan had the gem in the hammer. Yes, but Ronan is beyond a superior powerful being. Like, remember, Drax the Destroyer is beyond any human being. And Ronan the Accuser just bitched Drax like nothing. So he is beyond powerful enough to wield it. Whereas a normal human can't. No matter what armor it's built into, I don't believe they can. So I'm going to, so far that's what the MCU's presented to me, so that's what I'm going with. But they could change things up and maybe they say it otherwise. But you can't, no mortal being can just wield an Infinity Stone. Regardless of whether it's in armor or whatever, you cannot wield it. So sure, it's in a box and you can carry the container, but you can't wield that thing. Like Ronan was wielding the weapon in his hammer, but he's wielding the weapon, right? So I don't think a normal human being could do that. Could be wrong, but that's the way I've interpreted it at any rate. Laurie Scott writes, favorite ludicrous theory, Cap sells his soul to Crowley and everyone is saved. Then Sam and Dean save Cap. Iron Man falls in love with the Impala. I love it. Crossover, that's your ultimate crossover. First of all, the ultimate crossover event was not Infinity War. The ultimate crossover event was Scooby Natural with Supernatural and Scooby-Doo. Bring in the Winchesters, we'll deal with that thing. Get Castiel in there, get Gabriel in there, get the Archangel Michael in there, get Crowley, Lucifer, all that kind of stuff. Make it a true big crossover event. Why not? Trevor Johnson writes, Thanos was such a good character. No kidding, man. He was great. And such a great portrayal. I'll actually feel bad seeing his life work taken from him. I mean, one of the great accomplishments is to get the audience to feel empathy for the bad guy. When you can feel empathy for the bad guy, that is a truly marvelous accomplishment of filmmaking. And they did it. I mean, Trevor, your statement by itself proves that they accomplished that. And I think that in Avengers 4, when Thanos is ultimately beaten, I think there's a lot of us who are going to cheer that he's beaten, but then after the cheer, feel bad for Thanos. Like, when you can feel bad for the bad guy, that's a special accomplishment in filmmaking. It really is. And I agree with you 100%. Let's see here. E-Hero Andrew writes, I'm hoping Nebula is the one who takes the gauntlet away from Thanos, like how it happens in the comics. Again, we talked about that a little bit earlier. I just don't see Nebula having been a core enough character in the MCU to be the one to do that. There's a rare thing that they do that is consistent with the comics. Mostly it's not consistent with the comics. I'll be honest with you, E-Hero, it is possible they could do that. I'm hoping against it, again, because Nebula has just not been a core enough character. In either the Guardians of the Galaxy movies alone, let alone with the MCU as a whole, to become a central figure like that. I don't see it happening. I don't want that to happen. It could, because it is something that happens in the comics, but then again, they don't do most of the stuff that happens in the comics. So I'm kind of hoping against it too. It's definitely possible though. It's possible. Cramster writes, are you excited for the moment when Cap finally gets his shield back in Avengers 4? Oh yes. And that's going to be another moment that everybody loses their mind. When he gets that shield back. But you know what? Here's the reality. We may not see it happen. Avengers 4, because it picks up a year later, I'm kind of thinking Avengers 4 starts with him already having it back. So I don't know that we're going to see the moment that he gets it back so much as we're going to start the movie and he's already going to have it. Although it would be cool to see the moment that he gets that shield back, because I think everybody will lose their minds, but I think it's already happened and it's already done. Lori writes, John, I don't know Ebony Maw well enough. Could he be revived the way Thor was and be a future villain in his own right? Well, maybe. I mean, he's dead. So he's still a biological creature and he's dead. Could whatever they do in Avengers 4 bring back other people like Ebony Maw? Possible. It all depends on what narrative path they decide to take. Like, could they bring Quicksilver back? Yes. Could they bring back Whiplash? Yes. Could they bring back all these other villains? Yes. I mean, who knows what's possible? Anything ultimately is possible. We're just going to have to see what their whole narrative path is before we kind of jump to any conclusions, though. Mitchell Chandler writes, Gauntlet is damaged. Can only use one stone at once. Possible. I mean, they could kind of suggest that the Infinity Gauntlet is now limited. And maybe something like what you just suggested, that all the stones can be used, but only one at a time, as opposed to in combination with Supreme Power. Possible. It's a good theory. I don't know that that's what they're doing, but it's not a bad theory. I'm curious to see if they'll take that. Movie Minutes writes, when Thanos says he put his destiny off once before, perhaps he's speaking about not having saved his own people on Titan. That's how I took it. See, I don't. And maybe that's what they meant. But the reason I don't buy that is because of this. He did not, because the specific words he used was that he turned away from his destiny, right? The way he described what happened, he didn't turn away from it. He got stopped and banished and exiled. He didn't turn away from his destiny. He was stopped. And the way, when he's talking to Gamora, it sounds like there was once a time that he chose not to do it. And the thing with Titan wasn't by choice. He tried to get them to do it on Titan, but he was stopped. It wasn't his choice. He was stopped. So that's why I don't think he's talking about that one particular moment with Titan. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. It's totally possible that I'm wrong on that. But the way I interpreted, the way they presented it, it didn't sound like that's what he was talking about to me, but it's possible. Lori writes, Also, Avengers 4 better include Cap yelling Avengers Assemble. When he does, I know I'll start crying. I'm just going to be grinning like an idiot. We've already covered this, obviously, but I'm just going to be grinning like an idiot if that happens. Michael Dillon writes, do you think we could see the Watchers get in the act in Avengers 4 since they only get involved as a last resort? Well, no, because the last resort would have been Avengers 3. Prior to the snap, that would have been the last resort. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier in the video, and we've now gone over 2 hours. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, it seems to me like this is supposed to be the culmination of now the MCU that we've had so far. Not a time to bring in 15 brand new characters. This just doesn't seem like the right move to bring in a whole ton of new characters. Like, fine, bring in Captain Marvel because she's going to have her own standalone movie before that, so that's okay. But like, let's bring in Adam Warlock and let's bring in. Not to mention, I think Watchers are already kind of laden in with the. I believe they're tied in with the Fantastic Four rights, if I'm not mistaken, so you can't use them. Maybe they're not tied in with the Fantastic Four rights. I think they are, but could be wrong about that. We'll have to wait and see. Interesting theory, though, nonetheless, Mitchell, or Michael, I should say. Interesting theory, nonetheless. Excel Darlek writes, I think it will be called Infinite Avengers. I mean, whatever. It's just the title. So if they do that, I'm fine with it. I don't think that's what will be their title, but if they do, whatever. Again, like I said before, you could title Avengers 4 Oogie Poogie Eating Some Pies, and it won't make any difference to the movie. The movie's going to be the movie regardless of what the title is, so that's fine. Lori follows up with, we had another big jump. Okay. Lori writes, I know most people think Avengers 4 will be Avengers Forever. Oh, I don't think that. But I'm hoping it will be Avengers Assemble. It gives me chills just thinking about it. If anything, I subscribe to the Avengers Assemble theory. I think Avengers Assemble is most likely. I don't believe it's going to be Avengers Forever, but I think Avengers Assemble, I think that would be a title. If you're at Comic-Con or D23 or whatever, or some big event, and ladies and gentlemen, the title, the next Avengers movie will be, and then you bring the title Avengers Assemble up on the screen, people around the world would lose their minds. Avengers Forever, meh, okay. I mean, it's just a title, who cares? But you bring up Avengers Assemble as the name of the movie, people would lose their freaking minds. Kevin Bennett writes, a good story would be Pepper was dusted and Tony learned she was pregnant. If so, I would bet Tony reverses snap, dies in end, a la Braveheart. Again, I think if Pepper was going to get dusted, because we saw Pepper in Avengers 3, we would have seen her being dusted. And that's why I don't necessarily buy into that theory. And we've seen set pictures on Avengers 4 with Pepper in the set pictures. We haven't seen pictures of anybody that was dusted in set pictures of Avengers 4, but we did see Pepper, so that's why I don't think she dies. All right, guys, I said a little bit earlier that Kevin Bennett's question was going to be the last one that I would take, but a bunch of you guys sent in more questions anyway. So you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm in a good mood. I'm going to fly through these last bunch of questions. I said no more questions after Kevin. A bunch of you guys sent in questions anyway. So you know what? Just let me fly. In 3 minutes, I'm going to fly through all these last ones. Okay, here we go. Catholic Jack writes, can Thanos turn Stormbreaker into bubbles with the reality gem? I get the feeling Stormbreaker is immune to the Infinity Gauntlet. If not, he would have stopped the gauntlet before it got him in the chest. Anthony911 says, 6 Avengers, 6 stones. They all die to save everyone. Again, I don't think so because Kevin Feige has hinted that Black Widow is going to have a movie after Phase 4 starts, so that seems unlikely. Lance Pro 85 says, should Marvel use one-shots to fill in development missing from Infinity War like Scarlet Vision romance? Nah, because that's just going backwards instead of forwards. It's time to just move forward in the storytelling. Let's see. Psycho Ambassador writes, with the Infinity Gauntlet fried, it's not fried, it's damaged, but remember, he still used it. Do you think Thanos will scatter all gems all over the universe so the Avengers will be forced to track them down? No, I think he'll probably keep his hands on it. I think he finds it useful. I think he'll do. I mean, it's an interesting theory. I don't think so, but it's a very interesting theory. The coolest guy in the comments section, great username, I love it, writes, do you think they might push Spider-Man 2 back? No, I don't think they're going to do that. Would be It would buy them some breathing room, but I don't think they're going to do that. Dudley Fordham writes, I'm curious if Frogborg will defeat Thanos. I don't think so. Again, it's bringing in a new thing. And the final question is Troika S, who writes, a Supernatural episode made it canon that the leads actually die constantly but are sent back. Dead characters often come back too. No complaints there. But that's different. Like, you're talking about a show that over the course of 20 plus episodes per season, over 15 seasons, so now you're talking about 300 episodes of television. 300 episodes of television. There have been 6 or 7 examples of the dead characters coming back to life. Over 300 episodes. So that's one time, averaging about one time every 50 episodes. Or let's say one time every 30 episodes, right? If the MCU averaged doing it once every 15 movies, then that's fine. I've got no problem. If your average is fake deathing once out of every 15 movies, I'm okay with that average. Once every 15 movies is fine. But they're averaging more than once per movie. Because we've seen it happen, or roughly around once per movie, because we've seen it happen about a dozen times in 15 films. There's a huge difference between doing it once every 30 hours of entertainment versus doing it once every 2 to 3 hours of entertainment. Massive difference. Huge difference. So, yeah, I would say you can't compare the two. Those are massively different scenarios. And like I said, if the MCU did it like once every 15 movies, no complaints for me. Once every movie, or doing it 30 times in one movie, it's a different scenario. So I would say you can't compare the two. Those are two totally different scenarios. Anyway, all right, guys, this has been psychotically fun. You guys have brought up some stuff I've never considered, things that I know. I think there's probably going to be about 10 things that you guys suggested. I said, no, I don't think they're going to do that they'll probably do. I think this has been a load of fun. I had a great time doing this, guys. Thank you so much for being here and doing this with me today. We went over 2 hours. I only planned on an hour. That's totally fine. This has been great fun. Okay, guys. That will do it for today. Thanks so much for being here, guys. And for those of you wondering, yes, part 6 of the Infinity War spoiler discussion will be going up, getting caught up on all the discussions and all the questions that we had before. I will get caught up on those. We still have part 6 to come. Don't forget, guys, tomorrow we got open mic in the morning and we got Star Wars talk in the afternoon. Monday, the John Campea show. Don't forget, the John Campea show returns to 8:30 in the morning. So we have been doing open mic in the morning, so we're switching it back up. The John Campea show is going to be at 8:30 in the morning. That's our main show, our movie news show. Then in the afternoon, we got open mic. And Monday evening is my Deadpool 2 review. Keep your eyes open for that. And then next Saturday, next Sunday, we'll have our full open Deadpool 2 spoiler discussion. I'll let you guys know which day we're going to do that in the next 48 hours or so. But keep your eyes open. Anyway, always lots of stuff going on here on the YouTube channel, and you guys make it fun and make it possible. So guys, thanks again for being here. This has been a blast. I've had such a good time. I don't know if you could tell. Anyway, my name's John Campea. Thanks for being here. And until our next video, guys, bye-bye.